Welcome to Jim Reynolds Outdoors, and today I've got a great guest host with me. It's Thomas Post down at the winery, and they're actually taking in a lot of muscadines this week. Thomas, tell us what it's like out there in the field.
Well, it smells beautiful. The smell of bronze and black muscadines getting ripe is just like sticking your head in a bottle of juice, and it's just a beautiful smell. The aromas, and they're getting ripe and ripening up nicely this year with this California-style weather we're having. The sugars are going off the charts for anything we've seen before, and the tonnage is up near record tonnage.
Well, I know I love muscadines. I mean, that's my favorite thing. I love muscadine wine. And tell us, if we were to come down to Post Wineries, tell us what we would need to do. Could we get some of this year's product, or do we have to wait and drink last year's product? I mean, how do we get the benefit of those sugars?
Well, we'll have some of this year's fresh muscadines for sale at our retail shop at Post Winery this weekend, and then early next week we'll harvest all the muscadines, and the rest of it will be available in the bottles as a fresh bottled juice. We have some that's actually cold processed, and then we have some that's hot bottled. Both are extremely delicious, and the cold process is just a little better for you because it has more antioxidants in it. But hey, the winemaking is just a wonderful way to preserve grape juice, and the grape juice is really good for you.
Now, I've heard a lot about, you talk about the antioxidants. I've heard a lot about the white versus the red or the blush. What has the best antioxidants? We always assume it's red, but is that the truth?
Red has good blood builders, a little more iron and color pigment. But as far as antioxidants in grapes, muscadines has 7 times what a Cabernet does. So any muscadine product is going to be really good for you. And the best you can get is of course fresh muscadines, and after that would be a wine. A wine never sees the heat over 85, 90 degrees, so it maintains all the resveratrol and antioxidants in it for your health. Makes your skin more elastic, your joints, helps them out, and your heart. So it's all a plus. The grapes are genus and species. The genus on it is vitus, which means life-giving in Latin. And the species on muscadine is rotundifolia, which just means a round leaf. It doesn't have lobes like a grape leaf, but it's serrated, but it's more roundish leaf.
Yeah, I understand all about that genus and species name. Being a biology instructor for years, I'm all about that. I hope my kids I hope I taught them right and they know what we're talking about as well. And you didn't get into the color now as far as the white and the red and the blush.
All muscadines are good for you. The white is just as good for you as the red, and the blush is just a mixture of the two. It's whatever flavor you like best. I'd say the white has a little more fruity taste, and the red tastes a little more like the wild muscadines. Right.
All right. Well, that sounds great. So you're talking about you're having to water today because you're needing a little beneficial rain. How has the weather been for the grapes and the muscadines? You told me a great way to think about the grapes bloom on Mother's Day and the muscadines bloom on Father's Day. That's great as well.
Yes, and that 20 inches of rain in May this year, it kept the grapes from setting good fruit. With a lot of the grapes are small flowers, and they're air pollinated and small insects. And when it's wet from rain, it just doesn't pollinate well. So we had a kind of reduced crop of grapes, down to 50% on many of the varieties. One of the early blooming varieties, the Ives, Ives Noir, or Ives, some people call it Black Ives. It's a Concord-like grape it's actually a grape you can grow in your yard because it's so disease resistant. And it did extremely well. Beans that pollinated early, the rain was beneficial and made it get extra plump and had a record harvest on it. And we had so much that we made a grape juice out of it, it'll be on the market real soon. It's already bottled.
Mm-hmm.
They're just seeking to put a label on it. But Ives grape juice, it has a color like fuchsia purple, and the flavor is just like my grandma's old Campbell early grape juice she used to make.
Well, speaking of your grandmother, how long has Post Wineries been doing this?
Oh, we've been in the business since 1880. I actually had some records my father showed me this Sunday of Jacob Post being in Altus in 1874 and recorded one of his children being born. So we've been here for a number of years, and I am the 5th generation, and we have some 6th and 7th generation on the ground, mostly ran by the 5th and 6th generation now.
Well, I know you're going to be doing some activities this week. What are all the activities around the winery going to be like?
Oh, they're going to have, Whitaker's has its Oktoberfest, or Wine Fest, and I believe they have something going on Friday night, and then Saturday, it's an all-day affair, and Post Family's going to jump in there with them on Saturday. The Trellis Room's going to offer some good plate lunch and some entertainment and wine by the glass. And it's just the weather's going to be so nice, cool in the morning. It's just going to be a very pleasant day to come out and enjoy the Altus Area Viticultural Association. We're our own viticultural area here at Altus.
Mm-hmm. I know sometimes you're open on Sundays for wine tasting. Is that correct?
We're open 7 days a week, just a little shorter hours on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, what else do you want our listeners to know out there about the harvest? You said you harvested, was it 120,000 pounds of muscadines? Is that correct today? That's today, and we're looking at several hundred tons of muscadines, and it's kind of like eating an elephant. You just have to eat it one bite at a time. So the winery's only able to process about 40 to 60 tons a day comfortably. So that's all we process in that amount of time. You said it was a thirsty day for muscadines, right? Yes. Muscadine, it needs twice the water of a grape. Just to help folks out there that do grow them. Well, I had many calls this year from people that said they wanted to know what animal ate their muscadines in August when they were still green. And the fact is that muscadine's a little smarter than grapes, has one more chromosome, and it will turn loose of its crop and drop it if it doesn't have enough water. They go into water stress, and they'll just let the crop fall on the ground, and it'll live to have another go round. And right.
And grapes, on the other hand, they'll shrivel the crop and kill the vine.
Is that right? That's a little difference. That's something that I didn't know. I don't know that much about growing them, but that's something new to me. I used to have a cabin down at Blue Mountain Lake, and I had muscadines, wild muscadines that would grow on my barbed wire fence. And the bears would come off of Mount Magazine, and they'd want a little drink of water this time of year as well. And they would come through and eat my muscadines on their way back and forth to the lake.
Yes, they love them. We saw a bear up here a couple of years ago. The fact is, when they're getting ripe, the smell is so pungent, thus the name musky, dine, that anything for a couple miles downwind knows when they're ready.
and I'm sure they've got a pretty good sniffer on their snaz as well, don't they?
They do. The bears and the coyotes, the deer, the raccoons, possums, they all get their fair share.
Well, Mr. Post, I really appreciate you calling in. We've been trying to hook up, and you've been so busy. We just appreciate you taking the time with us. And we just like informing our listeners of things that they can do into the outdoors. And a lot of times they can go pick wild muscadines out in the out in the outdoors. But you know what? Sometimes it's better if somebody else does the picking and the bottling, and they can just come and share all the good things.
It sure lowers down the amount of chiggers and ticks and chiggers.
That's right. And we've got a great sponsor called the Soap Factory out of Van Buren that makes some hunter soap that they lather up and put on their pants and things to do that thing. So I'm glad you kind of segued me into that little sponsor's tip.
Well, I wanted to let your listeners know about our trellis room at Post Family. It's a kind of a sustainable local product kitchen that has a plate lunch on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And it's really worth your time to come by if you happen to be out and about from 11:30 to 1.
And that is where now? That's the lattice room, is that?
The trellis room.
The trellis room, okay. The trellis room?
Grapes grow on a trellis, and the reason we put them on a trellis is that we can keep the fruit in a manageable area. Grapes are really designed to grow up a tree.
Right. Okay. Well, Mr. Post, we're going to have to let you go. Thank you so much for calling, and we really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate y'all, and God bless you.